Tell us more about the decision to acquire Alheri Mobile Services and how it's going to boost your competitive edge as ETISALAT.
Thank you, Lorato. I think it's been one of the easiest decisions we've had to make since we've come into Nigeria. Clearly, the management team was recommending strongly that we go ahead and acquire a 3G license, and our shareholders were very supportive. So, from our perspective, we regard a 3G license as an essential prerequisite of being able to properly develop our mobile broadband offering, and indeed to satisfy the pent-up demand which we can clearly see exists in Nigeria for broadband services, for people to access the internet and to download and access content.
We're told that in Nigeria the market is dominated by GSM players. How's this acquisition and access to this 3G license going to help you become more dynamic?
Yes, you're exactly right. I mean, the GSM technology has become the overwhelmingly dominant technology right across the world, and it gives any operator who is operating a GSM license a tremendous advantage in terms of lower handset costs, lower infrastructure costs, and so on. And here in Nigeria, there are essentially 4 GSM operators. Each of those operators now has a 2G license plus a 3G license. The 3G license is going to allow us to support much higher data speeds. We have our plans to launch the 3G service later in 2011, certainly in the second quarter of 2011, and at that stage we'll be introducing a whole set of exciting plans which will allow Nigerian subscribers to download significant amounts of data and access data and content services. So an exciting time heading towards us, and an important point in the market's development, actually.
Okay, now the focus right now is on data services and innovations that are needed within the data space. 3G is going to help you in terms of strengthening your broadband capacity. What are you going to be offering the Nigerian consumer?
Well, I think we're going to be offering them, first and foremost, we're going to be offering them much better sort of access, the sort of access that perhaps in other countries one takes for granted in terms of the sort of download speeds when you're on the internet and you're downloading documents, downloading photographs, downloading sort of video. So I think we are going to see a jump forward from the consumer's perspective. But just as exciting, I think, is that as we develop this 3G infrastructure, this mobile broadband capability, there will be lots of opportunities for people who develop content to more easily access a larger market for their content and for their services. So I think along the whole value chain you will see stimulation, which is not restricted to just purely the operators, but is also going to encompass a lot of smaller businesses and smaller companies who are interested in developing content and making it available to a much larger audience.
And just finally and very briefly, expansion plans. You're going to be spending over $400 million for growth and expansion and refurbishment of your network. Many people say in Nigeria what ought to be happening is a focus on rural telephony and giving that market a little bit more access.
Yeah, two different questions there that you've asked. I mean, $400 million is what we're planning to spend next year in terms of capital investment. A lot of that will be invested in rolling out our network across areas of the country where we're not present. A lot of it will also be investing in the 3G network, which will be primarily, initially at least, concentrated on the urban and metropolitan sort of areas. And obviously we're investing in terms of managing our infrastructure so that we can accommodate the growth that we've seen. We have already 6.5 million subscribers since we've launched just some 2 years ago. Now you bring up an interesting point about the rural environment, and clearly as the operators grow their networks, increasingly we're making services available in the rural space. These may not be initially 3G services. You can support on 2G, for example, as we have done, a technology called Edge, which also gives people access to data services, even in the remotest part of Nigeria.